my number 5 slot is a point-and-click adventure game from the same guys that also brought The Walking Dead Season 1, and that is The Wolf Among Us. But before I discuss that, I did want to mention The Walking Dead Season 2, because I nearly put this on my list at my number 5 slot, because I absolutely loved The Walking Dead Season 1 when it first came out. It was so good, and I'm a huge fan of The Walking Dead. So I did nearly have Season 2 in this number 5 slot, but I just thought, well, as good as that was, it wasn't as good as Season 1. And I just think the fresh new story from The Wolf Among Us was better. So that's why I've decided to put this at number 5 instead of The Walking Dead. The Wolf Among Us is, again, like I said, a point-and-click adventure game. It's based originally on a comic called Fables, which take lots of classic fairy tale characters like the Big Bad Wolf, Beauty and the Beast, you've got Snow White, loads of other characters in there, and sets them in this gritty town called Fabletown, which is based in Manhattan. And it just takes these characters and just makes them completely different to how you'd ever see them in any fairy tale story that you would have seen before. Makes them a lot more, like I said earlier, a lot grittier, a lot darker, quite sinister, almost like sort of sinister in places as well, some of these characters. But I really like that, sort of just completely changing the dynamic of these classic fairy tale creatures you would have seen in various stories and movies and cartoons and stuff like that. Just changing these characters completely from what you normally see them as was just really great. I also love the gameplay. I mean, it's quite slow paced, but I really like point and click adventure games. Like I said already, obviously I really enjoyed The Walking Dead, and this uses a lot of the same elements. So you've still got the quick time events to do a lot of the more action orientated scenes. Then you also have quite a bit of freedom to sort of change the story the way you want it, depending on what your choice is. So depending on the conversations you have with certain characters, also your actions that you perform at certain points throughout the game will affect what happens later on in the story. And even stuff that you do, it's like in The Walking Dead, it's split up into 5 separate chapters. And even stuff that you might do in Chapter 1 can have an effect at the very end of the game in Chapter 5. Which, again, is great. It's one of the things that I love about The Walking Dead. And, yeah, The Wolf Among Us does that. Uses that element as well, just as The Walking Dead did. You've also... I mean, it looks... I love the art style of it as well. I mean, again, I keep referencing Walking Dead, but just because this takes a lot of the really great elements from that and puts it into this game. But yeah, the art style is really cool as well. Sort of the cel-shaded, cartoony graphics really sort of encapsulates the fairy tale creatures, but also because it is a sort of darker and grittier world, it still works really well. It doesn't make them too cartoony to not be almost believable. So yeah, I just really like the art style in this as well. The story's great. It obviously incorporates a lot of different characters. I've already mentioned a few, like Big Bad Wolf, Snow White, stuff like that. But you basically play as the Big Bad Wolf, who's now called Big Wolf, and you're the sheriff of Fabletown, and you have to go into the story, which is basically a story of prostitution and murder in Fabletown. You have to find out why different prostitutes are getting murdered, and you have to interrogate various different people from the land of Fabletown, including like Tweedledum and Tweedledee. You've also got Georgie Porgy in there, stuff like that, and it's a bit crazy. Like some of the characters that are in this game, but it just works really well, and you have to work with Snow White to sort of basically find out all these different mysteries, find all these different clues to figure out why people are being murdered, who they're being murdered by, and all these different sort of really cool story elements. And yeah, I mean, obviously I don't want to ruin too much of the story for you, but it, like, depending on what, obviously, like I say, with the choices you make, it can change the story slightly of the game. And yeah, I just thought it worked really well with this story. It's not quite as heart-wrenching as The Walking Dead, especially Season 1, There were some proper bits in season 1 where it's like, oh my god, that's really depressing, where you don't get that as much in The Wolf Among Us. This is a lot more of a detective story, so you're going around solving clues, finding mysteries and stuff like that. But it's still a great story, really, really good. So yeah, I mean, just on a whole, The Wolf Among Us was such a great game, so I would definitely say give this game a try if you like really sort of good crime adventure games, especially if you played The Walking Dead Season 1 and Season 2. Definitely play this game. My number 4 slot is quite possibly one of the funniest games I've played in quite a few years, and it is the new South Park game, South Park Stick of Truth. For any South Park fans out there, which I myself am a huge fan, this game is absolutely amazing. It's one of the best sort of licensed games based on like a TV series or something like that for absolutely ages. And like I said, it's just like the show, it is absolutely hilarious. It's obviously very crude, very rude, very offensive to pretty much everybody, but it's South Park. It's gonna happen. It happens with anything to do with South Park, but I love it. I love the humour, and I just think it's absolutely hilarious. The story as well is very funny. It uses stuff that's been used in other episodes before. So you've got the kids are playing role-playing game where they're all dressing up as like warriors and wizards and elves, and they are fighting each other. So they've got into two factions fighting each other to try and lay claim to the Stick of Truth, which is just a stick, but it holds unlimited power. So you start as the new kid. You're a new kid in town. You can edit. What's quite cool as well is like you can edit your character when you start the game, make them however you want to look. And then yeah, you're a new kid, and you end up meeting up with Butters, and he takes you to join Cartman's team, where they dub you Sir Douchebag. And then you just like it's essentially an RPG type game. And as it's an RPG, you get to choose your class. So you have the warrior, you have the mage, you have the thief, and you have the Jew, obviously, as the fourth choice. And each character type has their own movesets, and just like with any other RPG, you can, as you level up, you get new abilities, and which are all different depending on which class you take as well. So as the story progresses through, you meet loads of the characters from the show. You go to loads of different locations, and like I said, the story just escalates. It starts off as just this like mock battle, basically, really, between the humans and the elves. The humans being led by Cartman and Kenny, and the elves being led by Kyle and Stan. But true to just like a South Park episode, it escalates very quickly, and eventually aliens start getting involved. You get Nazi zombies getting involved, obviously, and you even have to fight Mongolians in it as well. And yeah, it is just the whole story, the whole premise of the game is just hilarious. It looks amazing. I mean, it looks like a South Park episode as well. Like while you're playing it looks like something you would see from a South Park episode. And in fact, that's basically what you're doing. You're essentially playing a huge South Park episode. Not only has it got all the great South Park bits in it, like the visual. I say great. You've got the accurate visuals of South Park. You've got all the great humour in there, and you have obviously all the characters and stuff like that. But you also have the gameplay, like I mentioned. So it's an RPG game, so it's like a turn-based RPG. So you get different abilities, like I mentioned earlier. You also get magic as well, which is not just normal magic. You have the power of magical farts, which you unlock new farts as you progress through the game, giving you new abilities. But what I like about this as well is that it's not just an RPG. There is also an element of platforming involved as well. And with, like, say, quite a lot of the time you have to sort of do different puzzles. Different characters have different abilities to try and solve the next puzzle. And you can also actually take enemies out before even fighting them. Like, you can use the surroundings to your advantage. I mean, yeah, this game just plays brilliantly. as it's an RPG, you even have summons in there, like reminiscent of like Final Fantasy games. But the summons you get to use are Mr. Slave, Mr. Kim, Jesus, and Mr. Hanky, which is they're just great summons. And like I said, it's just got so many great characters in this program, in this game. Sorry, see, I'm even calling it a program despite the fact it's clearly a game. That's how sort of close it is to the actual show. Is that it does feel like it's just an episode from the show, but just obviously an extended version of it. I would say really the only bad thing I can think about this game, I mean obviously if you're not a fan of South Park, you're not going to like this. There's no point even trying it, because you're going to hate the humour, you're going to think it's too crude or too offensive. But as long as you like South Park, for me the only bad thing about this game was that as it's an RPG, most RPGs are normally very long. This one is fairly short. I mean, I think it's still a decent amount of time. It's like 10-15 hour long game, and that's even with all the side missions. Where you got like loads of side missions. One of my favourites is having to find an Algor, and he's asking you to hunt down Man Bear Pig. Amazing, absolutely amazing. But yeah, my only gripe really is the length of the game. I wished it would last longer. So yeah, if you're a fan of South Park, definitely play this game. If you like RPGs, again, I would still say try this game out, because it's one of the funniest games you'll play in years, and yeah, it's just a really solid game. My number 3 slot is the latest instalment of the massively popular Super Smash Bros. Series, Super Smash Bros. Wii U. Now, all the Smash Bros. Games I've always loved. They are such fun, really just brimming with so much Nintendo related content, just so much fan service in there. Like, all the characters always look so good, and the Wii U version is no exception. They've introduced, well, in total they have got 49 characters in this game, so it's absolutely loads, including 15 new characters in there as well. Some really cool characters have been introduced in there as well. I mean, some of the ones that I really like in there, you've got Rosalina and Luma, you've got the Duck Hunt duo, Little Mac as well as an awesome addition. They've got some really cool third-party characters introduced. I mean, they've got Sonic returning, they've also got Mega Man and Pac-Man put in there as well, which the fact that you've now got a game which has got 4 of the biggest iconic characters from 4 different studios is just amazing. So you've got Mega Man for Capcom, Pac-Man for Namco, Mario from Nintendo, and Sonic from Sega. It's just incredible. And this game just has so many cool characters, and it's got a couple of, I would say, crappy ones in there for myself. I like the fact they've got Dark Pit in there when they've already got Pit, and Dr. Mario when they've already got Mario, but there's only a couple. Most of the rest are really cool introductions. They've got a couple of weird, well, there's one weird one, Wii Fit Train, I think is a bit of a weird addition, but she kind of works when you actually play as it, so again, forgiven as well. What is great about this game is just the sheer amount of content, not just with characters, but everything. They've got loads of stages, all looking absolutely amazing as well, just from all the different Nintendo games. Some old, some new. What I like as well is that they've got some exclusive ones, like they're different between the Wii U version and the 3DS version. So like the 3DS version, a lot of levels are based on handheld console games, whereas the Wii U version has a lot of levels based on home console games, which I think is a pretty cool little touch. And you can also create your own levels in there as well, which is also pretty fun. But yeah, there's just so much other more content in this game. You've got like a lot of the old modes from previous games are back. So you've got classic mode, you have the all-star mode, you have stadium mode with some new stuff in there as well though. But you've also got loads of new modes as well, and all extended as well. You've got the event mode is back in it, but this time has got up to 2-player co-op on there as well, which is really cool. You've got the new mode, which is kind of like, almost looks like Mario Party, but you collect characters, fight, and it's up to 4 players. You go around the map getting new abilities and new characters, and you fight each other for extra boosts as well. It's quite a fun little multiplayer mode in there as well, a bit different. It's called the Smash Tour, so that's quite fun. You've also got up to, this is this is the thing that I really love about this game, which makes it really, really fun, is up to 8 players offline Smash mode. Now this is absolutely amazing. I mean, 4 players is fun anyway. It's still fun, but at least with 4 players, you still got an element of skill that could be involved. 8-player Smash is just an all-out brawl of just absolutely insanity and very, very fun, but it is just absolutely crazy, just crap going on everywhere. Sometimes it can be quite difficult to sort of see what you're doing, but it's so much fun. It is a bit of a shame that they didn't do the 8-player mode online. Online you can do up to 4 players, but it's still great. The fact you can have 8, like you plus 7 friends, all playing offline together, just insanity. That's all that is. But really great fun as well. Like I said, the online mode in this is really good too. They seem to have realised that online fighting games are popular, which taken them a while, because I always found the Wii online wasn't great, but yeah, this one, the online, I found is really good. So, which is obviously a very good thing about it. So yeah, I mean, just in general, this game I've just found it is absolutely amazing. It's one of my favourite ones of the whole series. I think Melee's still my favourite, but I would say this is better than Brawl. The only thing I could think of that Brawl has over this is the Subspace Emissary. It's a shame that this game doesn't have a story mode like the Subspace Emissary, because that was such a great mode, and that was the best thing about Brawl that I've found. And yeah, it is a shame they didn't do anything similar for the Wii U version, but aside from that, this game is pretty flawless, really. One of the best fighting games I've played for a long time, and yeah, one of the best Wii U titles. In fact, there's only one Wii U game that I've liked more than this. So yeah, just a great game. My number 2 slot is the second outing for Bayonetta in Bayonetta 2. And this game is absolutely batshit crazy, just like the first one. I absolutely loved the first game when it came out on the PS3 and 360. And I was so sad when I heard that there might never be a sequel. And then Nintendo came along, saved the franchise, made Bayonetta 2. And it's even better than the first one. It's just so absolutely bonkers, but just so much fun. The combat is really fluid. They take all the good stuff from the first one and improve on it as well, and they just make the combat even better. Just plays a lot better. You've got loads of new abilities, new skills in there, and you've also got the new witch time. Well, it's not new, but it's easier, because although I loved Bayonetta 1, it was hard in some places, and this one is definitely a bit easier. It's still difficult in places, but it's definitely easier, and the witch time helps because it's easy to pull it off, and it seems to last a little bit longer as well, which is definitely a plus when the first one was very, very hard. And yeah, just the whole combat system is just awesome. They've got the new ability as well, which when you're doing your attacks, you can like use your special meter to perform the Umbron Climax, which allows you to summon demons while you're actually fighting in mid-fight, rather than like in the old ones you could summon you often summon a demon to like face off against a big boss or something like that, whereas in this one you can summon like a little mini demon to help you fight enemies in the middle of combat, which is really cool as well. The game itself is very fun and funny as well, just like the original Bayonetta. But it's also got sort of, because obviously you're fighting against twisted angels and really messed up demons and stuff, it's got that weird element in there as well. But it's still got the very fun, playful nature of Bayonetta, which made the first one so good. I mean, there's one part right in the beginning of the game when you're facing off against a bunch of angels on the back of a plane to the music Moon River, a remixed version of Moon River. And there's something very special about that. I just think it's absolutely hilarious, and it just made me giggle. That entire sequence, I just thought it was really funny. The game itself, the story, obviously, It's a sequel of the original, so it's based on a few months after the first game. You are starting off shopping in New York, because why not? And you get attacked by angels, and while you're fighting off against these angels, you summon one of your demons to help you, and the summoning goes wrong and goes rogue, and it ends up killing your friend Jean from the first game. And so Bayonetta ends up going to hell to try and find her friend's soul and rescue it, as you do. And so Bayonetta finds out that you can access the gates of hell from a town which has got a really weird name, which I'm going to try and pronounce. I think it's no, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, it's too difficult. But it's a really odd sounding name. But yeah, she has to go there to try and find the gates of hell and get in there to save her friend's soul. And while she's going on this journey, she finds a young boy called Loki, who is also trying to look for the gates of hell, but for unknown reasons. And while sort of interacting with his young boy, that the rest of the story unfolds. You end up having to face off against the Lumen Sage, and it sort of does a lot of references to the first game as well, with different characters that you meet and stuff like that. But yeah, so the story is pretty good, but it's for me it was more the combat and just the gameplay which made it such a great game. It also looks fantastic as well, just the visuals. Sometimes there's so much stuff going on and there's no frame rate issues ever. Like, you have these massive battles with huge bosses, or even just multitudes of normal enemies, and the frame never drops a beat. And even when there's stuff, just like crazy shit going on in the background, like some of the boss fights, you're facing off against a couple of a human sides dude, but in the background you've got these giant monsters and demons and stuff fighting each other, and it just still looks amazing, and there's just no lag or anything on it at all, and it's just still really responsive. And it just all of that, it just makes it such a great and fun game. I also like the fact in this that as it was done by Nintendo, you've got some extra costumes in there which are based on Nintendo characters, which are pretty cool. So like, you've got Princess Peach or Princess Daisy, you've got Fox McCloud, you've got Link, and you've got Samus, like different costumes, and they sometimes have different abilities. Like Samus has like the energy gun that Samus Aran has. You've got with Fox, you've got like little laser gun as well. And when you choose Link, you can actually if there's a certain weapon you choose, you actually get the Master Sword, which is really cool. There's just that little sort of Nintendo touch makes it pretty cool for me. But yeah, so this game it's just such a good game. And also, another thing I like about it as well, it's got a 2-player co-op mode. It is only on the battle arena mode, so it's not in the main story, but it's still a good addition, and you can play it online as well against your friends. So that's a really cool extra mode in there as well. So I mean, yeah, Bayonetta 2 is even better than the first one, and the first one was still an amazing game. And for me, this is my favourite game so far on the Wii U since it's come out. I urge everyone who has a Wii U to get this game. It is a must-buy for the Wii U. It's just such a great and fun game. Just get it. So we're down to my number 1 slot, and my favourite game of 2014 had to go to Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor. I absolutely love the Lord of the Rings series. I love the movies, I like the books, I just love the whole mythos with it. When you look at the games though, a lot of them there's never been any amazing Lord of the Rings games. There's some decent ones. There was a few on the PS2 that were fairly good. I can't think of any actually on the PS3 that are any good, Lord of the Rings games wise. But Shadow of Mordor is the first Lord of the Rings game which is truly amazing. It's set between the time period of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and you play a ranger Talion who is on a quest for revenge against the forces of Sauron. The forces of Sauron have murdered your wife and child, and as well as killing you, to trying to summon the Elven Lord Celebrimbor, I think I pronounced that right, to try and gain his powers. but the summoning goes wrong, and the elf lord ends up going into your body instead, and you end up gaining his powers, and he's like basically like a wraith elven lord who gives you all these new abilities and powers, and also makes it so you can't die, which is pretty handy. And so you just basically travel through Mordor, and you're having to go to, obviously you're essentially trying to kill the hand and the hammer of Sauron, work with Sauron, and your main reason to do it is for revenge, but you're also trying to help Celebrimbor to uncover his memories, because he's got amnesia from being a wraith for such a long time, and so you're trying to help him uncover his memories as well, to figure out what his role is in the whole Lord of the Rings mythos. And what I really find cool, I mean, I won't say what it is because it will ruin the game, but I like how it links to the story behind Lord of the Rings, and how this game sort of bridges the gap, introduces a new element into the story which was never sort of told before in a book, but also works really well. So yeah, I just think it's really cool. And it also introduces, well, it doesn't introduce many new characters, but you do have Gollum in there, which is always fun to see Gollum. Who doesn't love Gollum? So I think that's cool as well. The gameplay is also amazing on it. The actual main gameplay doesn't do anything new, but it does a lot of things that other games do really well. So the main combat is very Batman Arkham-esque. So you've got a very much sort of a attack parry system and counter system to try and combat enemies. Which, yes, it's been done before, but this game still does it really well, and I love that combat system. I just think it's really fluid and just works brilliantly. And so putting it into the Lord of the Rings game also works brilliantly. You've also got a lot of the stealth and sort of parkour elements of the Assassin's Creed titles, so you can there's not as much stuff to climb about like in Assassin's Creed, but there is a lot. The parkour element is there. Like you can just basically climb up pretty much every building. You have a lot of the stealth elements as well, so you can sneak up through bushes and assassinate people and things like that. So like I said, it takes a lot of these things and just improves upon them as well. And the fact that you've got all these different ways of doing missions, you can actually use that in sort of certain missions. You might need to sort of assassinate a certain Uruk-hai captain, but if you use either melee, ranged combat or stealth, depending on what you use, you might get extra bonuses as well, which is quite cool. You've also got loads of abilities to unlock throughout the game. Some of them are story based, some of them you have to do side missions, and you just gain experience just from general playing the game, which also gets you new abilities as well. So there's loads of stuff to unlock. There's loads of extra side missions, like I mentioned, loads of different side missions you can do throughout the game as well to make your character even better. And that's another thing I really like as well, is just the sheer content of the game. There is a lot to keep you going. The main thing though, which is so good about this game, is the Nemesis system. The Nemesis system is basically like a hierarchy system they introduced with the Uruk-hais, where there's several captains, and depending on your actions throughout the game, different Uruk-hai captains will get promoted to eventually becoming chieftains. And sort of your objective at first is to try and kill these captains and chieftains, but eventually you gain the ability to manipulate the Uruk-hai minds, so you can actually eventually start controlling the minds of certain captains. And in certain missions as well, like two of the Uruk-hai captains might start fighting each other. If you've got one under your control, you can sort of jump into the mission, help out the one you've got mind controlled, kill the other one, and get your one promoted. And it's these sort of little elements in the Nemesis system which is so intriguing and just makes the game, expands the game even more so. Like a lot of the time I was just going around trying to boost up my Uruk-hai captains, killing off the ones that I don't want, and trying to make all my Uruk-hai captains all chieftains, which is really fun, really great. And I wasn't even doing the story mode at some point, I was just doing that, and that was really, really cool. And also, like as well, with the Nemesis system, the actual Uruk-hai captains you face off against remember you. So if you fight against someone and you don't kill him, then and they like escape or something like that, then if you ever see them again, they'll recognise you, which is really cool. And I actually had one, and they actually get battle scars and stuff as well. And I remember there was one Uruk-hai captain who kept on escaping me, and he must have escaped about 3 or 4 times. And by the end of it, I'd beaten him up so many times that he just had like massive bandages all over his face from where he'd obviously been scarred from all the battles that I've had against him, which is really cool. And also, if an Uruk kills you, they get promoted as well, and again they'll remember you, and they'll like say things like, "Oh, I killed you last time, I'll kill you again," stuff like that. And it's just, this whole nemesis system is a great element to the game, and I really hope other games start incorporating it to make like their games even better. So yeah, I mean, this Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor just has so much going for it. The gameplay is incredible. Nothing maybe so new, but it just does everything right. The nemesis system's awesome. The story is really cool. Just like, for any Lord of the Rings fan, you're gonna love the story. It looks really, really good as well on the PS4. Yeah, any Lord of the Rings fan, any action adventure fan, you're gonna love this. So yeah, definitely get it. Hey guys, thanks for watching my top 10 games of 2014. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my choices, if there's any games you think I left out, and also subscribe to my channel so you can then check out any other videos coming out soon, and we will see you again soon. Thanks a lot, bye.